Hello and welcome to Digging into Your Child Outcomes Data, DRDP, presented by DR Access Project. And I am Jessica Mayorga Nunez, the Program Support Specialist with SIP. And I'm thrilled to be here to support DR Access as the moderator for this breakout session. Just a few logistics. This session will be recorded and archived on the conference agenda page after the conference for 1 month. Closed captioning is available by clicking on the closed caption button on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. The interpretation icon in the same area will provide access to Spanish translation. And we will ensure ASL interpreters are spotlighted along with the PowerPoint presentation. Please ensure your volume is muted so we avoid background distractions while presenters speak. And we encourage you to use the chat and interact, ask questions, and when possible, keep your camera on so we could see you and say hello. And I will start us off and turn it over to Elizabeth.
What should I say? Good afternoon. It's 12:01. So I realize we've just flipped. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining our session. I'm Elizabeth Schroeder. I'm the project director for the DR Access Project. And my partner in crime today is Cornelia Taylor, our research director. I'll be handing it over to her shortly to dive into our content. So let me actually go ahead and share my screen. Are we seeing the slides? Cornelia, thumbs up on the slides. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Oh, there we are. We'll be walking you through the digging into your data outcomes session. We'll start off by talking a little bit about the DRDP, just to ground ourselves in how the DRDP is used to measure child outcomes. Some people are aware of that, and some folks, it's new information to them. So we'll ground in that a little bit. Then we'll talk about some of the specifics about how we use the ratings from the DRDP to measure progress for children over time. And then we are going to take a look at how you can look at your local results for indicator 7. And we'll take a look at the system, and you'll have an opportunity to, if we know you're all sitting at a computer, so you'll have an opportunity to take a look at the site and dive in a little bit to your local results and ask us questions. So we intend for this to be an open forum for discussion. So please, at any time, feel free to post questions in chat, come off mute, and just raise your hand and say, Cornelia, Elizabeth, wait, I didn't understand what you just said. Can I ask you a question? We are more than happy to pause to make sure you are all hanging with us. But thank you so much for being here today. So let's get started with our agenda. I'm going to hand it over to Cornelia to give us a little bit of the DRDP overview, although I'm going to say, hot off the presses, these are the new covers of the DRDP 2025, which is rolling out in fall 2026. So you're getting to see a sneak peek of what the new instrument is going to look like on the front cover. All right, Cornelia.
Hi, thank you, Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, maybe you could stick a link to the desired results page with the new instruments if people are interested.
Great.
Okay. One thing that would help as we get started is if participants could add their LEA or SELPA to the end of their name, because as we the benefit of attending this presentation is that we are going to help you find your outcomes data and give you some tips for how to interpret it. So if we know where you're from, that will help us get prepared. I don't know if people know how to do that. You right click on your name, right, Elizabeth? No, you hit on you hover over your name. Click
three dots
and click rename. So I'm going to call myself Cornelia Taylor NCOE.
Looks like folks are definitely doing it.
Fantastic. Okay. So we like to lead with the reminder that the DRDP is an authentic assessment. So authentic assessment refers to assessments that are based on observation of children's skills and behaviors as they are demonstrated in the child's everyday activities, routines, and transitions. So what we know is that the opposite of an authentic assessment is a standardized assessment, where you would pull the child out of the classroom, sit down with them, give them a standard set of tasks that are administered by an unfamiliar person. And an authentic assessment, we're focused on how does the child interact with the people they know and trust, and how does the child interact with their peers who are their friends. And so we're really looking to see how those skills are used to benefit the child's participation and learning. And then authentic assessment is a recommended practice in early childhood assessments. So I don't know if people are familiar with the Division for Early Childhood recommended practices, but that is a very comprehensive set of documents that describe different practices that should be happening in early childhood special education. And they include a strong focus on authentic assessment. Next slide. Okay, this is the question that we find often our participants don't know the answer to, or they are supervising a number of teachers or providers who don't know the answer to this. And from implementation science and what we understand about systems, it's critically important for everyone participating in the assessment to understand why the assessment is happening and what will happen with the information. In a vacuum, people make assumptions about what will be done with the information. They may be concerned it would be used against them in a like a assessment or a accountability framework. But we're here to tell you that although the DRDP is part of accountability, it is never used to determine if a teacher is doing well or not, or if a program is doing well or not. What it is used for is to determine how we can improve programs through new curricula, targeted instruction, different settings. So it's a way to understand what's working and what's not working. It is not a tool to punish or be punitive. And so the main impetus for our statewide rollout of the DRDP in special education is federal accountability. So the Office for Special Education Programs in the Federal Department of Education requires that each state report on the progress that children make during their time in Part C, early intervention, and Part B, preschool, which in our case is really 3 to 5 year olds. So it runs preschool and TK and some K. The next level down, the California Department of Education. Okay, so think about it this way. The California Department of Education is held accountable for children's outcomes by the federal government. So in order to make sure that they are doing their due diligence with regards to their accountability, they also need to make sure that districts and SELPAs are meeting their targets for indicators for preschool outcomes, indicator 7. So the California Department of Ed reviews indicator 7 and uses it to provide targeted supports if needed. And then when we look at a program, okay, I'm a SELPA or I'm an LEA. I know that CDE is going to hold me accountable for outcomes of the children in my programs. So I need to understand what those outcomes are and what are my high leverage points to improve those outcomes? And so I do that through program improvement. So understanding my outcomes data, along with many other data sources to really make both stakeholder and database decisions. So working, having a team at that program level that is using multiple sources of data to make decisions. And then we're putting this one last, but this is actually the most critical use. So it's very important that teachers and providers understand how to use the DRDP for instructional planning and engaging with families. And if the DRDP is seen as useful by the people administering it and they're using it, then you will get high quality data. Attempts to improve the quality of your data that don't start with utility for your assessors often feel punitive, and people don't implement it as well as they do if you start with utility. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we're just going to give you an overview of Indicator 7, which the Office of Special Education Programs calls preschool outcomes. It is based on the DRDP, which has 8 domains, but we take those domains and we combine them to get 3 outcomes that are required by the Office of Special Education Programs. The first outcome is positive social emotional skills. The second outcome is about knowledge and skills, so literacy, math, science, how children are learning those pre-academic skills. And the final outcome is their use of their appropriate behaviors to meet needs, which comes from a adaptive behavior framework. So it's looking at the degree to which children can function independently in their environments. Okay, next slide. So this is just a sneak peek at the way that the DRDP, which is on the left, those domains align to the outcomes that we use in Indicator 7. So you can see approaches to learning and social emotional development mapped to outcome 1, foundational language development and cognition, which includes math and science, maps to outcome 2, and physical development and health maps to outcome 3. And then when we look at eligibility for the DRDP, Elizabeth, I'm going to let you do this slide. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Where's my mute button? Okay, so for the most part, today what we are focused on, because we're focused on Indicator 7 results, is we are going to just focus on the DRDP data that we collect for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. Those 3, 4, and 5-year-olds have to have a signed IEP, and they should not be turning 6 within the year. So if you're out there doing the DRDP for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, these are the requirements for the DRDP. They need to be enrolled and receiving services in the fall by November 1st or in the spring by April 1st. We do also collect some data for infants and toddlers, but that data is reported through Indicator 3 of the Part C State Performance Plan, whereas today we're really focusing on the Part B, Indicator 7. And now where's my cursor? There we go. You want me to keep going? Yeah, okay. So who is included? So that's kind of what I jumped the gun there. In the Indicator 7 reporting, we pull in that data from the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, but we only pull data for children who are exiting. So I think that's a really key point as we get into your data here in the second part of the session. Remember that we're looking at results for children who exited in that academic year. And they had at least 2 DRDPs. And you'll see, as Cornelia describes the calculation, why we have to have 2 DRDPs. We have to have an entry point and an exit point. So why would a student be classified as exiting? Well, maybe they're turning 6, so that they're no longer required to be assessed on the DRDP. Perhaps they are no longer eligible for special education services. Perhaps they moved out of the state. If they moved within the state, then they will still be reported upon in their new district or SELPA. And perhaps it was just a family decision to remove them from receiving special education services. Either way, remember that the Indicator 7 data that you're looking at is only a subset of children who exited that year. Perhaps they're also just aging out and moving on to first grade. Okay. All right. Do you want to start? Yep.
I'll start now. Okay, so to reiterate what Elizabeth just shared, because this is where people get tripped up first, is that we are using the DRDP to establish an entry and an exit score for each child. So each child has to have at least 2 ratings. And when we look at the 24-25 indicator preschool outcomes results, we are looking at children who exited the program in the 24-25 school year. So we're not looking at all children who receive services. We're not looking at all children who got a DRDP. We are narrowing it to children who left. And then the next thing is that the scores are analyzed to answer a very specific question, which is when we look at this child's score and we compare it to other children in state-funded programs without a disability, so when we look at it compared to children in Head Start or children in state preschool, is this score close to the scores that we see in that population? Is it below what we see in that population? Is it far below what we see in that population? So if it's close to what we see in children without IEPs served in state-funded programs, we say it is at age expectations. So it could be close to it, it could be above it. When we look at who is close to age expectations, that means, what does that? That means there are 1.2 standard deviations below the mean for those children without IEPs served in state-funded programs. So they've gone beyond the range of scores that we would call age expected. And then when we look at children who are not at age expectations, those children are 2 standard deviations below the mean. So we think about 3 ranges. We think about at age expectations, which is around that mean, close to age expectations, which is below 1.2 standard deviations, but above 2 standard deviations. And then we look at not at age expectations, which is 2 standard deviations or more below the mean. Next slide. Okay, and so this is tricky, but you only need to know this sort of casually, because we're going to quickly move to a different metric that is what you'll see in your outcomes report. So when we think about how children make progress in special education, the Office of Special Education Programs determine 5 different trajectories, and these will resonate with you as things that you notice in your own students. So let's start with this purple line, category E. these are children who come in functioning like same age peers and exit functioning like same age peers in that domain. So, for example, if I have a child who is deaf, but they have a lot of access to ASL, they don't have additional disabilities, they would be coming in at age expectations and exiting at age expectations. And here is a place where I'll remind you that the DRDP is an authentic functional assessment, and it is not an eligibility assessment. So if a child is in category E, that doesn't mean that they don't have a disability or they don't qualify for special education. It means that with the adaptations and supports that are provided as part of their IEP, they are able to function like their same age peers. If we pulled all those supports away and we put them in a room and we tested them without their adaptations, they would look very different. So this is a different kind of assessment than eligibility. Okay, so the next, we're going to look at orange, which is D. That is children that improve functioning. So they're entering below age expectations, so either close to or below. And then they're changing their trajectory to the extent that they are exiting at age expectations. So while in the program, they went from being below age expectations to meeting age expectations. Category C is kids who come in below, make greater than expected progress. So they change their trajectory positively, but they don't catch up to age expectations. Category D are children that made progress in the program. They entered below, made progress in the program, but they didn't change their trajectory. So they are at the same status relative to same age peers as they were at the beginning of the program when they exit the program, but they have made progress between entry and exit. And then the final is category A, which is children who didn't improve functioning. So these are children who their exit score is lower than their entry score. So they aren't keeping up with their trajectory is not positive. Their trajectory is declining or flat. Okay, next slide. Okay, ruh-roh. So this is the formulas probably won't help anyway. It's okay.
It's okay. I could try
Yeah,
it.
I think so. No, I think it's fine. So we think about, so those 5 progress categories are, as you heard from me explaining them, they're just like a lot to wrap your mouth around. So to make this simpler and easier, those 5 progress categories get combined into 2 different summary statements, and they get combined in different ways. So I'm actually going to start with summary statement 2. So the summary statement 2 is the percent of children who were functioning within age expectations by program exit. Okay, so functioning within age expectations by program exit. Will you go back a slide, Elizabeth?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if category E is functioning at age expectations, we can see that there's 2 categories that go into functioning at age expectations, and that's category E and category D. And we can see that category C, the green one, B, the blue one, and A, the lime category, none of those exited at age expectations. So summary statement 2 is really the percent in E plus the percent in D. Okay. The next one is summary statement 1. And those are children who, no, you can stay there, go back. You can go back to the trajectories. And summary statement 1 is children who substantially increase their rate of growth by exit. So you guys might remember that when we were looking at category D and category C, we talked about positive changes to their trajectories. So, whereas category B are children who don't have a change to their trajectory, and category E are also children who don't change their trajectory. Category D and category C are children who are acquiring skills more quickly in that outcome as a result of their time in early childhood special education. So here's the thing to remember about summary statement 1. The children who are in this purple line, category E, those children are taken out of the calculation. So we're only looking at the children who improved functioning and met the same age peers, and the children who moved closer to functioning like same age peers. We are not looking at the children who were functioning like same age peers at entry and exit. And so we're saying of the children who started below age expectations, that doesn't include category E, but of all of our kids who started the program close to or below age expectations, how many of them made greater than expected growth? So had a positive trajectory, had an increase in their acquisition of knowledge and skills. Okay, and so the thing to remember there, really, the take-home message is that all of your children are going to be in summary statement 2. But summary statement 1 is going to only have A, B, C, and D. Category E is pulled out of summary statement 1. Okay.
Okay, great. Yes. And so Cornelia's really laid the groundwork, and I understand it's dense, right? For how we get to these calculations. And I think now it'll start to come together as you start to look at your local data. So that's what we're going to do. So Cornelia, when you can you post the link to our outcomes system? So just really quick. So if you leave our session and you don't remember how to find anything, just remember all of our materials are in the presenter slides folders, which you guys all have access to, but you can always go to our main website, draccess.org, and find all of our systems here on the left-hand side. So DR Access Outcomes is our system where we make your local Indicator 7 results available. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. So now we're going to actually see some data. We're going to take what Cornelia just described and we're going to look at some values. And I'm going to start at the state level. So this is the online system, the home screen. If you want to start diving down, you can either hit start here to search or the little results button at the top. So we'll go ahead and click on that. And results are available at the state level, at the district level, and at the SELPA level as well. So you can search at all of these different levels. I'm going to ground us in the beginning of this discussion by taking a look at the state level results, and then I'll show you really quickly how to drill down for districts and SELPAs. This system has 12 years of data loaded to it, which is fantastic. So you're really able to get a sense of change over time. And within I think it was about a month ago, we posted the 24-25 results. So you have last year's Indicator 7 results entered in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit for the state results. It automatically defaults to the current year, but you can go back and look at previous years if you like. No matter whether you're state, district, or SELPA, the first page you're going to see is a dashboard, okay? So Cornelia talked about 3 outcome areas: 2 summary statements. So for all 3 outcome areas, you have 2 different results. 2 times 3 is 6. So our dashboard has 6 results for indicator 7. This is also a little bit different than some of the other indicators. So if this is the first time you're really diving into some of this data, you're like, wow, we've got 6 results for this particular indicator. So the way the dashboard is set up is that you have a row for each outcome area: social emotional skills, knowledge and skills, appropriate behaviors to meet needs on the bottom row. Then you have the 2 summary statements across in the columns. Summary statement 1, summary statement 2. The color of the boxes of each result indicate whether you are meeting the target or not meeting the target. Orange means you are not meeting the California state target in that area, and blue means you are. So the state of California is meeting targets in 2 of 6 areas here, right? I can just see that visually really quickly. 2 blues, 4 oranges, okay? But let's dive a little bit deeper into understanding the numbers and the counts. Cornelia described how we get the calculations for summary statement 1 versus summary statement 2. And one of the key points she shared was that summary statement 2 is going to report on all the children who exited in that year. So for the state of California, at the end of the 24-25 academic year, we had approximately 24,500 3, 4, and 5-year-olds with IEPs exit from services. So you're going to have a number. You're going to have a number, say 200 or 300 or maybe 50, depending on the size of your district or SELPA. And what you're going to want to reflect on is, does that seem like a strong representation of the children we actually had exited? Remembering that some kids were not able to include if they were served for less than 6 months because we didn't have 2 assessments for that child. It's also, I also want to note that these numbers can fluctuate from outcome area to outcome area. And that, so for example, you see the social emotional number is 24,692, whereas outcome area B is 23,868. When data is submitted, sometimes it is missing ratings on measures, on certain domains. And so we use whatever data is present to produce these results. And sometimes we don't have a complete assessment for each child. So just to explain the difference there. Then if you look at that summary statement 1 column, you see that the number of exiters drops significantly. And as Cornelia mentioned, that is because summary statement 1 only takes a look at the children who entered the program below age expectations. Generally speaking, these are children who have more significant support needs. And so this is the group that we want to track very closely for the progress they make from the time they enter to the time they exit. So that's why the number drops, because all kids are included in summary statement 2, but summary statement 1 is just a subset. And you can see it varies for each outcome area. This subset of kids in summary statement 1 is not the same for each outcome area. A child could enter below age expectations in social emotional skills, but for example, not in knowledge and skills. And so they might be reported in this area for this outcome area, but they might be over here in this calculation for knowledge and skills. So just thinking about some of the data points we're going to want you to explore and look at and reflect on in your data. We also include on the dashboard a brief, shortened version of the line chart that shows your results over time. in comparison to the state target. So the orange dotted line are your results and the purple line is the state target. So let's drill down to the detail page. So if you click on the tab up here, just underneath the name of what you're looking at, you get the detail for each outcome area for each summary statement. So there's outcome area A, B, and C here, tabs. I'm on A right now, and you have 12 years of data here. You have it for summary statement 1 right up at the top, and then a line chart on the right, and then summary statement 2 on the bottom, the data, and then the line chart on the right. We are providing you today with a reflection question guide that we will take some time to use in a little bit that will help prompt you to think about what you're seeing in the data on these screens. But I would like to just point out a couple of key pieces. So the line charts on the right really allow you to explore the progress of your results over time in relationship to the state target. And that's important, not only to look at how your results fluctuate, but the target has also changed over time. So you want to have both of those pieces of information as you look at the data, because perhaps the target fluctuated and all of a sudden you were meeting the target just because the target fluctuated, and vice versa. So you'll want to have both of those pieces of information. The detailed table on the left allows you to explore the change in number of exiters over time. For some districts and SELPAs that we have worked with, there's definitely been moments where folks identify large decreases in number of exiters that's sort of unexplained. And there's some desire to go back and check on the implementation of the DRDP and make sure all data is getting completed and all data is getting turned in. So that's another data point that can be helpful as you work to ensure that the quality of your data is good, that is going into these calculations. And then we have some calculations of how your results are stacking up next to the California targets if you're wanting actual point changes there. And then, as I mentioned, you can click through each outcome area and look at those same pieces of data for each outcome area. When we work closely with districts and teams, we do a lot of bouncing back and forth. It really helps tell the story of, are the trajectories the same in one area as they are in the other? Are the trajectories the same, for example, on summary statement 1 as they are for summary statement 2? And you have to do a lot of bouncing back and forth between screens to really start to narrow down the areas you may want to focus on and may want to work on as a team locally. So those are the 3 tabs there. I will also show you a couple of other pieces available at the state level. Detail by category. We don't have this available locally. Oh yeah.
Lift, Jessica, you just put a helpful chat, and do you want to come off mute and say something about it?
No, I was just agreeing with Elizabeth. It's super helpful. So thank you.
To take a look at those number of exiters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think sometimes it may be the first time that localities are seeing their data reported back to them. Sometimes we shoot data up to the state. We trust that it makes it where it needs to go for reporting. But if we don't look at any summative report of those results, all of a sudden you become aware that perhaps not everything's making it where it's supposed to go. So it can be helpful in that, from that respect. At the state level, we do have data available by disability category. So if you're at all interested in taking a look at different disability groups and how they are doing over at the state level, that data is available there. We also have detail available by SELPA that allows folks to take a look at which SELPAs are doing well in certain areas and compared to the state targets. So that's available. Really quick before we give you some time to try to dive into your data and just take a look, take a few minutes to reflect on what you're seeing and ensuring you know how to access it. I just wanted to show you a couple pieces that are available at the, I think I'll jump to district level just to give you an example. I'm just gonna pick one. Let me go to a SELPA. Okay, so I'm gonna choose a SELPA. So the dashboard's the same, right? All the same pieces of information. The detail is the same, 12 years of data. You can see the counts are much smaller because now we're at the SELPA level. Then within the SELPA, you have a tab that says detail by district. So if you want to take a look at the breakdown of the districts in your SELPA and vice versa, if you're here as a district and you'd like to take a look at your district results, you also might want to sneak peek the SELPA's results and see how you're doing related to the other districts in your SELPA or how you're doing related to your SELPA. So just pointing that out. But then if you'd like to drill down and take a look at a district, so I'm going to click on Brentwood Union. You can click here or you can look them up on the list. And then I'll show you what a district page looks like. So same thing, district page has a dashboard, number of exiters, etc., even smaller than the SELPA. And then you have detail by year. You don't have any further breakdown because once you're at the district, you're kind of at the bottom of that pyramid. But I also want to point out that there's a print feature that takes all of those screens and puts it into one colorful PDF that you can download and share, especially in preparation for a team meeting where we suggest you might bring this report to have a deeper discussion. Okay, so now what we would like you to do is perhaps I'll stop. Let me show first a couple of the handouts we included in our folder. Just wanting to make sure
And I
you
put
guys.
a link to the folder in the chat.
Thank you. We have a one-page handout that reminds you of all that complicated stuff Cornelia went over, how we calculate the outcomes. So you have that available to you after the session. And then we have some outcomes reflection questions. So we don't have nearly enough time to make it through these today. But what we'd like you to do, I'm going to stop sharing because I don't know how much it messes you up to bring up the outcome system, click on the results button, and try to pull up any level you are interested in looking at. So if you're from a district and you'd like to pull up a district, please pull up your district. If you're at the SELPA level, please pull up the SELPA. So let's do that. And we're right here. We come off mute. If you're like, hey, I'm from such and such, I can't find my data, just come off mute or type it in chat. And we want to make sure you are able to find your results. Are folks doing okay with that? You can give us a thumbs up or say okay. Has anybody started to take a look at their results? Um, just the dashboard, um, and noticed anything just like right off the bat on your dashboard? And this is a no judgment zone. So whether your boxes are orange or blue or you're meeting targets, no one in this room cares about that. We just want to make sure you have access to your data. Would anybody be willing to be a guinea pig and let us put your data up on the screen?
Elizabeth, we have somebody with less than 10.
Oh, okay, great. Mm-hmm.
Gabby, I'm not trying to call you out, but Aspire Public Schools.
Mm-hmm.
Hi there. Yes, I try to access my data, but I believe because there's less than 10 students, it's not showing any data. Is that correct?
It's a really good point. I forgot to make it. Um, so let me pull up Aspire Public Schools. So for those of you that have fewer than 10, we can get you access to your data. What uh, is Aspire?
It's Apex.
Oh, Apex. Thank you. I was like, I'm not finding
And
Apex.
Elizabeth, see, Fresno is willing to share. Do you want to
I
find the
would,
information for Gabby? And I'll share Fresno's data.
yes.
Okay. And Fresno, are you Fresno Unified or are you Fresno SELPA?
We're Fresno Unified School District and we are our own SELPA.
Okay. So you're both Fresno Unified and Fresno SELPA.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Share my desktop. Okay, well, one thing that we like about Fresno, it's got nice juicy numbers because they have a lot of kids. Um, let's see. Well, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking, like, generally speaking, as I'm looking at the trends, it looks like overall in your summary statement too, you're trending, you're right there, right? Very close to targets. Almost at targets for the most part there.
And that's one thing for me where I want to extend my learning on some areas because it's not just this report, but some things that are coming up on our SIM reports in our district.
Mm-hmm.
Where we're just like 2% off. And for me, it's like, how many students is that actually? Like, because
Oh,
want to make sure, are we missing anyone that we didn't report on? Because we do have some students that, are not accessing their programs. And do we need to start doing cold calls, which is something we did last year to get kids in school? And I know they won't reflect on this now, but we just want to make sure we're not missing a margin and what that actually looks like if you quantify that into actual students, like how many students, um, and really to target those skill set areas to just bring up the bar.
Mm-hmm. Elizabeth is our math whiz, so she could tell you how many students that is.
yeah, I was just going to say, so Dr. Haley, I would say that, given that you're just, I don't know, 8%, right, out of 200 and something, we're talking fewer than 20 kids, right, to move the bar. As opposed to like when we're trying to move the bar at the state level and go 1%, it could be 2,000 kids, right? So while you're big, it's still, you don't have as far to go. So that's overall. I do think you brought up another point, which is, are you getting all of your data? Are you so I would work with your data manager or whomever is sort of at the helm, kind of making sure all the DRDPs come in. Perhaps that's even you. But to ensure that you're getting all of your data. And then looking at your summary statement one, that I think is probably, and we're seeing this trend across the state, so it's not unique to Fresno, where the trend is slightly downward across each one of these areas and is remaining further from the target. Looks like there was a jump in knowledge and skills in the year prior, but those are your kids who are coming in below age expectations. So
And
thinking,
just Elizabeth, one
yeah.
more thing when you look at 2024, that does not include TK and K. When you look at 25, that does include TK and K. So I do think that looking at yours, there seems to be, particularly in acquisition and use of knowledge and skills, our pre-academic outcomes, there does seem like a reversal of trend because you went 22 to 23, you went up, 23 to 24, you went up, then 24 to 25, you went down in outcome B for summary statement one. And you see the same thing in summary statement two. You went up 22 to 23, up 23 to 24, and then down 24 to 25. So I would also wonder how my TK assessors are one thing we know about TK, right, is that not all of the teachers have a foundational understanding of 4-year-old development. So it's like you just want to make sure that your teachers aren't setting the expectations really high because of what we know to be a real issue amongst our TK staff.
Thank you. I appreciate that call out because that is actually something I've seen myself is the question, do we all truly have an understanding of developmental levels of kids in the back of our mind, like, where they should be, where they are, and then also um, really looking at to like the thought of where they need to go in the future, what skill sets they're going to need for the next grade level up. So that is a work that we are going to start next year, especially with our infant toddler teachers who have been disconnected to the work. Through our Lorianne Assessment Center, which we know we get about 400 kids a year that get assessed through those teams. And so we're actually merging those part of our reorg next year to be a part of our early learning, and they've already been counted in on all of our PL that's coming up. So thank you for breaking this down a little bit ways to think about how I need to roll this out as well to support what we're going to be doing.
And I would just, one more recommendation is that, we have new infant toddler foundations and we have new PTK foundations. And we have now the infant and toddler 2020 DRDP 2025 and the PTK DRDP 2025. So those assessments are aligned to the foundations. And if I was working to build the capacity of my workforce to understand development, I would do it through those foundations. And then if they understand the foundations, then they understand the DRDP. But because the foundations are really the link to curriculum, I do think, and I'm sure you've already got that as part of the work that you're doing, but don't think of this assessment work and that foundation work as different because it's the same.
Thank you.
Cornelia, you made me think, would you mind stopping sharing? I know we're literally running out of time, but you made me think of another resource I thought would be worth sharing, and we should have had a slide. And that is that on our Learn system, DR Access Learn, where everyone gets training for free, we launched a asynchronous data dig series. So if anyone is interested in taking this a little bit further locally, so it's this, but extended. So Dr. Haley, other folks on the call, if you want to go back and either do it yourself or do it with a little group, you can sign up for free for our Learning Center. If you've done other DRDP training, you probably already have an account, and do our asynchronous data dig. We are quickly running out of time. I want to just make sure you all have access to the folder of resources. And then Jessica, do you have, you said you had couple final pieces.
I do. I have a few just final words. I want to say a huge thank you to Elizabeth and Cornelia for helping us with this commitment to students with disabilities and their families. Love this. Love that you shared some important information. And thank you to our ASL interpreters and our Spanish interpreters. We are grateful. Again, our shared mission is to design these educational systems that innovate, elevate, and create meaningful, positive experiences for all learners in early childhood and beyond. So you can access the slides for this presentation in our description. I'm so sorry, in the agenda page. And if you have additional questions, don't forget to go visit the information booth. As we transition out of here, join DJB Diamond for a 10-minute dance break. And at 1:10, we are going to have our closing keynote from Kanya Sesser. Also, don't forget all our attendees who go to the social lounge. Make sure you stop and take a selfie at the booth. We'd love to have your photos, and don't forget to share them on socials with the tag at SIP Impact with the hashtag SIPCon 2026. And also that friendly reminder, the top attendees on our leaderboard are going to get the pick of an inclusive book bundle or free registration for one of the in-person upcoming conferences at MTSS in Anaheim or Calexi Symposium in Burlingame. So also, we have the SIP survey. I believe that's also what you've got here. If you want to do that now, but we also have a keynote closing. So join us for that. And we are grateful to you all.